Welcome to Biz Tip number 10, which aligns with the content in week 10 of our Momentum Accelerator. Week 10 is the start of our growth focused sessions. So in week 10, we talk about funding and how to fund your business, all the different ways. And then we also talk about scale versus growth. So growth is, they're often confused with each other. So growth is regular growth, right? Like it could be defined as if you sell more of this product, it's usually tied to profit and expenses, okay? So revenue and expenses. So if you sell more of a specific product, it's going to cost you more to make it, right? I mean, each product, let's say you sell it for $10 and it costs you $5. If you sell 2 of them, now it's costing you $10 and you've made $20. If you sell 3, it costs you the same for every unit that you sell, essentially, right? Of course, there's some economies of scale, like you can, if you're making candles, you can pour all the candles at once, so it doesn't take as much time than if you're just making one and then tomorrow you make another one, right? So there's some time savings there. You might be able to buy your wax in bulk, which was some savings, but by and large, when you're talking just about growth as opposed to scaling, your growth expenses that come with growth go up as your revenue goes up. They just go up in tandem. Okay, scaling, however, is when you sell more, but your costs don't really go up very much. This is a great example of this is a technology, some kind of a technology. So let's say an app that you developed. So once you have the developers and maybe the customer service people, you can sell millions of those apps, and your costs don't go up that much, right? You have to have a couple of developers regardless of how many you sell, and you have to have some customer service people regardless of how many you sell. And so that's what we call scaling. So there's a potential that you have, and probably a likelihood that you in your business have elements in your business that are better for growth, that are primed for growth. And you might have some that are primed for scaling. So you don't have to have one or the other in your business. You can have both. So there's a scalability finder that Lisa Bossy from the Boss Coach comes in this week of Momentum and talks about this. So it's a scalability finder, and to identify parts of your business that might be scalable. So there are 3 characteristics or 3 things to look at when you're looking at whether something is scalable. So the first thing is teachability. How teachable is this thing? Is it something that only you can do and nobody else can do it? Well, then it gets a terrible teachability score, right? A really low teachability score. However, if it's something that you can teach others so that you can remove yourself out of that equation there, or out of the fulfillment part of whatever it is. So if you are a coach, but you can teach other people how to coach with your system, then that's teachable. So that's one of the things to look at is the teachability of a certain component in your business, a certain service or product, let's say. The second thing is differentiation. So how different is what you do, your product or service, from anything that anybody else is doing? The more different it is, the more it can scale. So if you are the first to market with a specific kind of app, anybody who wants that has to go to you, right? Nobody else is doing it. So you might not have total differentiation because you might not have something that nobody else is doing, but there's maybe some differentiation. So you kind of think about how different is your specific product or service that you're considering, whether it's scalable, how different is it from what anybody else is offering? And then the third thing to think about is the repurchasability. So if you have a coaching program and once they're done with this coaching program, they're good to go, then the repurposability or the repurchasability score is low for that because they're done with it. However, if you have some kind of a consumable, if they love what you're doing, they'll continue to repurchase for as long as they want to be a customer, right? And so that would get a high repurchasability. Another way to look at that could be monthly. So like, a subscription to something. So if you offer a membership or some kind of a subscription model, that counts. That's a high repurchase score because they're coming back every month and paying you. So once you think about that, if you have something in your business that is highly teachable, pretty differentiated from what anybody else is selling, and it's got a high repurchase score, or like it's very repurchasable, that's something that you really could look at scaling. And once you have something scaled, it really does kind of make money for itself. It kind of just, especially with the repurchasability, you set up some processes and some support around it, and it just kind of does its thing and grows. Whereas the growth part, sometimes you are much more hands-on on that part. And again, totally fine, right? Both types of growth versus scale, both of them can result in very successful businesses. And as I mentioned, in fact, you may have within your business both, which is great. We just have to identify it and then figure out how to make each of them work. And that's what we do in this week of Momentum Accelerator. So I would love for you to check out the program. It's truly impactful if you are a woman who's been in business for about a year and is really ready to grow. And I will be back next time with tip number 11.